יכול להזיז.
In the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, just a few hundred yards from the increasingly dangerous Syrian border. A team of Israeli soldiers is preparing for a special operation.
כולם להיות בהאזנה, בסדר, אני מזכיר, זה לילה, השקט הוא מבורך, אתם תשמעו אותי מדבר כל הזמן. היה פה הסתובבות חריגה, בסדר, ביומיים האחרונים, כל האזור של המרחב הזה. תפקיד שהייתה אתמול של 4 חבר'ה, אני אומר, בוודאות עצמית, עדיין לא ברור מי הם או מה הם, עושים על זה עדיין מודיעין, אז להיות ערניים, להקשיב, מה שנקרא, לרכשים משמאל, לרכשים מימין, מה שנקרא, הערנות שלנו זה מה שיציל אותנו.
כך פחות מהדאגה.
We wait as the vehicles drive towards the border, into darkness. Five minutes later, some news over the radio.
יכולה להגיד לי משהו על המצב שלו?
פציעה בבטן ובחזה מירי מאתמול.
קיבלתי פציעה בבטן ובחזה ירי מאתמול.
כל הפרטים המלאים יגיעו בהמשך, אנחנו כרגע מעריכים אותם.
So it's gonna be interesting.
Before long, the unit returns. The first part of their mission is a success. Only the mission probably isn't what you think. Rather than fighting their enemies, the Israelis are rescuing them. The soldiers are bringing 3 wounded Syrian fighters into Israeli territory for urgent medical care.
What we're seeing here is really quite astounding. A group of Israeli soldiers treating fighters from Syria. You couldn't have imagined it happening 2 years ago, but it just goes to show how unpredictable the Middle East has become and how much this region is changing.
Allahu Akbar.
About a mile away in Syria, an Al-Qaida affiliate known as Jabhat al-Nusra has seized a swathe of land and Syria's army is trying to take it back. This footage is from a bloody battle earlier in the day, most likely where the 3 rescued Syrians were wounded. With binoculars, you can even see the fighters, but as is the case with Syria's deeply complicated civil war itself, it's hard to make out who the fighters are and what exactly they're fighting for. For now, they've largely left Israel alone. And Israel has tried on the surface to appear neutral. But there are new signs that Israel is siding with the rebels. United Nations observers recently reported witnessing IDF soldiers allowing what appeared to be 2 unwounded rebel fighters into Israeli territory. Still, the IDF maintains that its only interaction with rebels is in humanitarian missions like this.
So we've got the 3 casualties in there. It looks like the guy on the ground, he's in a lot of pain. The other 2 seem more or less okay, but they just might be out of it. But this right here, this is the fallout from the most violent war in the world today.
אוי, כן. לא, אין תחושה ברגליים, תגידי, כאילו אין לו תחושה ברגליים מתחת לשבר, הוא אומר שהוא לא יכול להזיז. אני לא מצאתי שם דופק, אבל הן מאוד מצחתיות, אז אני לא יודעת.
בטן, חזה.
בספטנט. הון הוא ההון. היה לו, עוררו לך את החיים גם בסוריה. הקוטר ייכנס אליו גם הבית.
אני מסכים איתך, תני לשים לי בכף יד, כי קודם ראיתי ברית חמוד, שלי היה נראה קטן.
אני ממליצה על כולם לפינוי. אני יכולה לבקש מהם לעשות לחץ דם? אם בזה תלוי האישור.
they bring the wounded fighters to a nearby hospital. It can't be overstated what an unusual relationship this is for everyone involved. Israelis treating fighters who in some cases are bent on Israel's destruction. But since the start of Syria's civil war, about 1,300 Syrians have quietly received medical treatment inside Israel.
What's the prognosis for these guys? Are they going to survive?
I think so. They'll be okay. Maybe the guy with his legs will have a long-term treatment, but he'll be okay.
What we're seeing is a high level of coordination from the Israeli military directed towards helping these fighters from inside Syria. The question I'm asking myself is, do they have a deal with one particular faction fighting on the other side of the border? And if they do, what is Israel getting in exchange? So far we've seen, according to Israel's own statistics, that 90% of the people that they're treating have been men. So I'm going to leap to the conclusion that most of them have been fighters. I think Israel sees this as being in its overall interests, but I want to know more specifics. We're here in the Galilee in Israel. We're on our way to a hospital, and the interesting thing about this hospital is that they're actually treating casualties from the war in Syria on this side of the border, and that's pretty unprecedented because you wouldn't expect people from Syria, a sworn enemy of Israel, to want to come here to get medical treatment. But the Israelis have opened their borders and they've actually allowed quite a few people to get treatment, so hopefully we're going to get to meet some of them.
Dr. Amr Hussein oversees the efforts to treat Syrians here at Ziv Medical Center.
Is it dangerous for them to try to come here to seek treatment?
Yes, it's very dangerous because there is don't want people come to Israel.
What do you think would happen to them if they came back and people found out they were in Israel?
They may be killed.
But I understand that some of your patients are actually fighters from the various factions.
At the past, the first, you want to see also the emergency?
Sure.
You can.
They've actually treated 420 Syrians in this hospital alone, but they've treated 1,300 overall since the start of the conflict in Syria, here in Israel.
Almost all have been men, so it's not a stretch to assume that many are fighters. We were curious if any belonged to the Al-Qaida affiliated rebel group Jabhat al-Nusra, but Dr. Hussein tells us this would be impossible.
The army here changed the policy and don't bring again fighters, only civilian people. At the first time, yes, there was fighters against Assad there for the revolution, but after, no fighters, only civilian people. We can see children, we can see very old people, it's not fighters.
I noticed in your statistics that 90% of the people you treat here are men. Are you sure none of them are fighters?
I don't know.
This question clearly made the doctor uncomfortable, maybe justifiably so. The Israeli public might not be too keen on the fact that Israeli doctors are helping fighters who hate Israel only a bit less than they hate the Syrian regime. In Syria's civil war today, more than 1,000 factions are fighting each other and the regime for control of the country. To date, more than 190,000 have died in the conflict, and even the tallest fences can't stop ripples crossing the borders.
Have you ever seen casualties like this in your experience?
No.
But I mean, you treat soldiers from...
I treat soldiers from the Lebanon to...
Yeah.
We treat also civilian Israelis from the rockets of Hezbollah. Yes, we treat also. But like this injuries is very severe injuries.
This patient is a recent arrival. No one knows much about him because he's been unconscious since he got here.
He has vascular injuries, abdominal injuries, fracture of the bones, the large bones.
What do you think caused his injuries?
I think it's more blast injuries.
And so he hasn't been able to say anything since he got here?
Yeah.
He doesn't even know he's in Israel?
He doesn't know that he's in Israel, yes.
We head into another room where 3 wounded Syrian fighters have been convalescing since July. 2 quickly covered their faces with blankets, but we could see the characteristic long hair of Islamist fighters. Outside, an IDF soldier remains on guard 24 hours a day. One of the three agreed to talk to us, 25-year-old Mohammed, who says he's a fighter for the Free Syrian Army, a collection of Western-backed rebel groups.
جت طيارة هليكوبتر زتت برميل بالبلد، فرحنا لنشوف يعني إذا في إصابات ولا ما في إصابات مشان نسعف الناس. فلحظة وصولنا لهناك كانت في منطقة قريبة للنظام فيها جيش، ضرب منها علينا بالمدفعية قذائف وقتل مننا 2 وصوبنا احنا 2 جينا لهون على مشفى صفد.
He said rebels worked through a neutral intermediary to deliver him to IDF soldiers.
احنا وصلنا بسيارة للحدود، يمكن ما كان في بيننا وبين الشيك 20 متر، قطعنا عليهم عاد.
If people find out that you've been to Israel, do you think they might suspect you of being a spy or something?
طبعا احنا موجودين ضمن مناطق محررة يعني من قبل الجيش الحر، يعني مناطقنا محررة غرب درعا وفي القنيطرة، يعني ما يقدر يصلها الجيش النظامي. اما الجيش النظامي اذا بيعرف انه احنا هون مثلا مسكنا بعدين، هو طبعا ما راح يوفر لا انه رايح اسرائيل او انت رايح على اسرائيل. يعني صار في جرحى تفوت على اسرائيل يعني من العام الماضي، يعني توقعت انه ممكن باي لحظة واحد يتعرض لاصابة ممكن انه يدخل على اسرائيل. اما اول يعني قبل يعني مستحيل كنت متوقع انه يدخل على اسرائيل.
When your treatment is finished, do you hope to go back to fight against Assad again?
طبعا انا في عندي حاليا اصابات برجلي، يعني ممكن القتال يكون صعب علي شوي. يعني بس انا في لي دور هناك، دور كويس هناك، يعني ممكن نرجع يعني.
Who were you fighting when you got injured? Was it Jabhat al-Nusra or was it the army?
لا جيش بشار طبعا. جبهة النصرة يعني مو بهذيك السوء هي اللي واصلة عنها السوء، احنا يعني معايشين جبهة النصرة هناك يعني. يعني جبهة النصرة يعني هناك يعني شو بدي اقول لك يعني تحل بعض المشاكل بين الناس، ممكن انها كونها يعني اسلامية تحل بعض المشاكل، يعني ما تتدخل انها تقتل او كذا او تظلم حدا او هذا بحارب حدا، لا هي تحارب النظام فقط.